الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So inshallah we continue with the tafsir of Surah Al-Baqarah. So we are now in the fourth section of Surah Al-Baqarah, as we have mentioned. And I suggested you should read Surah Al-Baqarah once a week. Yeah? Read the whole surah once in the week. So over the next 7 days, read Surah Al-Baqarah. It's a challenging task, but that's good for you, inshallah. Huh? To reiterate the message of Surah Al-Baqarah. Inshallah, it becomes very easy and natural. So, you know that the first part of Surah Al-Baqarah is telling us about the fact that this is guidance for mankind, but the guidance will only be given to muttaqeen. And then the kafir has been mentioned, munafiq has been mentioned, and then the story of Adam and Iblis, in the context that guidance is from Allah, but Iblis is always going to try to misguide you. And then Allah Ta'ala, He reminds us of His rububiyyah and His uluhiyyah. And then there is a very lengthy section on the previous ummah, the ummah, Muslim ummah, Bani Israel, and their history, to learn a lesson from them, not to make the same mistakes, and for them to do tawbah by believing and submitting to this message and messenger. So now the surah is addressing the believers with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, and telling us what we have to do to fulfill our responsibility of conveying the message, which is shahada ala nas. And this shahada ala nas this is possible through, if we just write it again, shahada ala nas needs infaq and needs jihad. And before that, the surah gives us our iman and Islam. Yeah, so this is the framework of the surah, and the vision is convey the message shahada ala nas. Yeah, good. So now, if we refer back to ayah 177, Ayatul Bir. If you remember, we said that in Ayatul Bir, Allah Ta'ala, He has shown us, let me see if I have it. It may be helpful to just see it. We said that Ayatul Bir gives us the abwab of Bir, the doors to be righteous. Anyway, it is not here anymore, so not to worry. And if you remember from your notes, Bir, goodness, righteousness, piety. One aspect is Iman in Allah and the Akhirah and the Messenger. The other was, if you remember the ayah, آتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ ذَوِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, etc. Yeah? So infaq. Yes? And then jihad. Yes? And other is mu'amalat. Belief, spending in order to convey the message, make jihad, and your dealings with each other, mu'amalat. Okay. So now we find that in the previous sections, please make a note of this. It makes it very easy for you to understand the Quran. Very easy. Allah Ta'ala, He gave us Islam as well, yeah? We looked at Saum just now, yeah? Fasting. You see that? Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fi al-Quran. And we finished that section last week. Now we will look at one of the outcomes of Saum is that it should affect your mu'amalat, your dealings with each other. Yes? So fasting should give you the quality that allows you to be just, fair, and upright in terms of your dealings with each other, especially when the test is severe. Yes? Atal mala ala hubbihi. You love wealth. Yes? But the test is, will you use it and will you acquire it through halal or not? So we will look at now today, inshallah, we will look at, number one, we will be looking at the love of money, wealth, and the effect fasting should have on you in your wealth and your financial dealings, if you like, yeah, finance, that you do not attain finance or spend it wrongly. Then we will look at the moon, Ahilla, and the months that are sacred, and then this will link to qital, fighting in the cause of Allah. Yeah? And then next week we will start to look at infaq. So this all is linked. All surah beautifully linked together. You may think that, or suddenly Psalm, then suddenly money, then suddenly the moon. Where is it? How does all this join together? And the Hajj will come. Huh? How is it all joined? You see, how is it joined? This bir. Righteousness is a comprehensive topic, a very comprehensive concept in Islam. It is not limited to just being, in inverted commas, religious. It is related to every aspect of life. Is it clear? Surah Al-Baqarah is creating this wholesome mentality in the believers by emphasizing first, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. Yes? لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. Brothers and sisters, can you please turn the mics off? Because it disturbs me every time. Then I have to go back and stop what I'm doing. Please. Jazakallah khair. Okay, you see now I'm confused. Where was I? So, wholesome understanding of righteousness is not just being religious in the inverted commas, yeah? But to be righteous in every aspect of life. Whether it is just your ibadah, worship, it is also your dealing, social interaction, economic, political, military, everything. Did. So therefore, we will now look at these ayat. Hopefully, then this should make very clear sense to you. Because this surah is revealed in Medina. We mentioned right in the beginning of Medina. It was started to be revealed as soon as the hijrah took place, and then the surah, parts of it were revealed up to and including the 5th or 6th year of Hijri, parts of it. Most of it revealed around and up to the time of Badr, which is the 2nd year of Hijrah. Yeah? So with that in mind, let's inshallah start to look at the ayat. Bismillah. So if we look at the diagram, this diagram, which is quite overwhelming, but just to have some placement of where we are in the diagram, Allah understand. And we are here. We have just finished the aspect of fasting. We will look at the effects fasting should have in our financial dealings. Then the Islamic calendar will be mentioned, qital and jihad, and then infaq. And then you will see Hajj and Umrah later on. So they're all related. So let's go to the Ayat, Surah Al-Baqarah, from Ayat 188. 188, Surah Al-Baqarah 188. So after the section on Ramadan and fasting and the objectives of fasting, which is to attain taqwa and be righteous and to be aware of Allah, first effect of fasting that should be seen in the Muslim community, this is being highlighted in this ayah. ولا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل وتدلوا بها إلى الحكام لتأكلوا فريقا من أموال الناس بالإثم وأنتم تعلمون. The meaning given here, and do not consume one another's wealth unjustly or send it in bribery to the rulers in order that they may aid you to consume a portion of the wealth of the people in sin, while you know it is unlawful. So this is essentially saying that you should not take other people's wealth wrongfully. Now, some things to note here. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ. تَأْكُلُوا, in fact, the word تَأْكُلُوا has been used, not تَأْخُذُوا. Don't take. It is saying do not consume. Yes, do not consume each other's wealth bil-batil, unjustly, unfairly. So one emphasis here is the fact that when you eat halal haram, this affects your Islam and your dua and your iman. Akal of halal, eating halal, is essential for righteousness. Now the other thing to know here is amwalakum. Amwalakum. Amwalakum means your wealth, or your wealth collectively. Yes, it doesn't say don't eat the wealth of others, does it? You with me, yeah? It says don't eat your wealth. Why do you think that is mentioned?
Don't use it wrongly.
Why are you saying your wealth? All of you. No, your wealth, not their wealth. It is telling us that you as a Muslim Ummah, you are one. You are one family. You stealing from each other is like you stealing from yourselves. You see that? This is the social fabric of Islam. Muslim community should have this fabric, that you steal from your brother in your society, you're stealing yourselves from yourselves, because you will all be affected by this practice, this unfair practice. What goes round comes round. In a society where this type of illegal dealing, especially the case given here is to bribe those in authority, yes, who can pass a verdict in your favor that makes you the owner of something that you don't own. So this causes a community and the culture of bribe. So when a person is living in a community where, a society where bribe is rampant, then the person would have to not only receive bribe, he would also have to give bribe. You see that? So you don't gain, you lose. Because you are all affected by it. Allah Ta'ala is telling us that this is how you should see it. And especially to bribe people in authority to give the verdict in your favor, so that you can now become the unlawful holder or owner of somebody else's belongings. Is it clear? And about this, the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned in the hadith, you see in Tafseer, that many times a person may come to me with a dispute, and one of you may be more able and articulate in order to present his case than the person who is actually right. But because you have better skills at presenting your case, therefore you may be able to convince me, the Prophet is saying. Yes, because the judge can only go by the evidence that is apparent, yeah, and the facts that are displayed. But if, then the Prophet says, but if you do that and I make a judgment in your favor, so underlying this is, although the Prophet gave this decision, yeah, Prophet saying, but because you were not right, yeah, you're wrong, you know that you're wrong, then what you have taken is a piece of the fire. What you have taken from me is not a judgment in your favor. You have taken a piece of fire from me, because you have misused your speech, your articulation, your skills of persuasion, etc., to be able to convince the judge to give the verdict in your favor, when you know that the other person, he is not guilty, you are guilty, but you have been able to convince this person, the judge, yeah? And this word ism, I need to make a note of this. The different words in the Qur'an, let me just stop sharing for a minute, and then I will come back to sharing, to just, so these different words, make a note of them, inshallah, yeah? Very useful for understanding Qur'an. Okay. So these words, the first word, dhanb. Dhanb, it is a general word for sin. It includes small and big sins, yes? Dhanb. Then khata'a. Khata'a. This is a unintentional sin. Okay? Khata'a. Mistakenly you commit a sin. So the Quran mentions the qatl, which is khata'a. By mistake, for example, you go hunting, and instead of hunting the deer, you didn't know that there's a person hiding in the bushes. The arrow or your bullet hits the person and the person dies. Yeah? This is khata. You didn't intend it. Huban kabira. Allah mentions this in the Quran. These are the major sins. The major sins related to social family life. The major sins related to family and social life, family life really, which are punishable. So you can write punishable, major punishable sins related to family life. Hub. The fourth is hinth. This is to break an oath. So this is a major sin in breaking oaths and contracts, hinth. You see how precise the words are. If you know the meaning, then you'll know exactly that, oh, hinth is talking about contract which has been broken. Yeah? Hinth. A major sin regarding contracts being broken. Ithm, which we are looking at ithm. Ithm is when you are inclined towards a sin, and when you get the opportunity, you don't miss the opportunity, you commit the sin. This is ithm. Ithm is the sin, you are inclined towards it, and you are looking for an opportunity, and when you find it, you will take the opportunity, just like this person who is on the lookout that I will take this person's wealth as soon as I get the opportunity to, I will do it. And the person does it. Ithm. Ijram or jurm is a major sin. And then the seventh, junah. Junah means to be inclined towards, because janaha means your side, yeah? Your wing, your side. So junah means you incline towards the sin. So junah also means the harm that you will do. And the last one, lamam, illa lamam, in the Quran mentioned Allah Ta'ala, these are the small minor sins, but these minor sins can lead to major sins as well. Illa lamam, Allah mentioned in the Quran. So 8 words in the Quran: dhanb, khata'a, hub, hinth, if, ijram, junah, and lamam. 8 words that give varied meaning regarding sin. Okay? Let's go back to the ayah. So, bil ithm, you see the ithm now? The person was on the lookout, opportunist, took the opportunity, doesn't miss it, will take the person's wealth. So this is regarding the effect of Ramadan and fasting on financial dealings in the community, yeah? You should have this impact. So Surah Al-Baqarah is creating a society where people feel safe. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the believer, al-Muslim, is the one from whose tongue and hand others are safe. Yeah? So everybody should be safe in regarding their life, security of their life, their wealth and property, and their ird, their honor, respect, dignity. And Islam, the Sharia, protects this. Then we move on to the next ayah regarding the sighting of the moons. Ahilla. Hilal is the crescent moon. You know, when it just starts to appear? The hilal. Hilal. Okay? Is the crescent moon, which means the beginning of a month. Yeah? The lunar calendar month. This apparently doesn't seem to be related, but it is very deeply related to the whole context here. So we have to understand some context that in Makkah, the believers were persecuted by the mushrikeen of Makkah. Yeah. And we know that in Medina, in the 6th year of Hijri, 6th year. Yeah, so we have to look at this. If we go to the website and we look at the timeline, Sirah timeline. So then we appreciate that in Medina now, on the 6th year of Hijri, The Prophet ﷺ, he has now been in Medina for 5-6 years. And now the Prophet ﷺ, he sees a dream, as you know, that he is doing Umrah. And so he sets off with his Sahaba to do Umrah close to Mecca. But on the route at the place called Hudaybiyah, he is intercepted by the Meccan, and they are stopped, and then they enter into the treaty called the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Yeah? And they agree that you can come next year. Next year you can come in Dhul Qa'dah, which is the month before Dhul Hijjah, yeah? To do Umrah. Okay? So now in this context, this is one tafsir, yeah? The question arises about the Ahilla, and especially the Ashhurul Hurum. Ashhurul Hurum. The months which are sacred, in which even pre-Islamically people didn't fight in these months. Yes, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram and Rajab. They would stop fighting. And Allah Ta'ala, He sanctioned this as, yes, this is correct. Yeah? So now the Sahaba are asking, now next year if we go to do Umrah and they attack us, then what will we do? The next ayat will explain this. Okay, this is one tafsir, one understanding. The other is that this is a natural, sometimes Allah Ta'ala mentions yas'alunaka, that they ask, not because they actually asked, but because this is what they should be thinking about. Yeah. And another tafsir which is also there is that they did ask about the months. Yes. Because you see the Quraysh, they had mixed up the months, as Surah Tawbah mentions. Nasi. Yeah? What is the ayah? Ziyadatan. Nasi. The mushrikeen, they would chop and change the months around to suit themselves. Yeah? So now the Sahaba and the believers, they are not clear. So Allah Ta'ala is telling them, you ask about the new months. Tell them what is the objective of this. How do we understand this? قُلْ هِيَ مَوَاقِيتُ لِلنَّاسِ وَالْحَجِّ. These are the measurements of time. They allow you to calculate your year. 12 months, then you know when is Ramadan, you know when is Hajj, you know when is Muharram. You calculate everything according to that. If you want to take a loan, then you calculate. You have 12 months or 24 months, you see. So all these things are mawaqitu linnas. And the most important is Al-Hajj, because then you will know when to do Hajj. And of course, before that, Ramadan you mentioned. And Zakat is also dependent on knowing the one lunar year, yeah? Haul, which is called Haul. So Allah Ta'ala is saying this is the objective of Ahilla, and later on He will respond to their question about what will we do in these sacred months if we are attacked. Yeah? And then Allah Ta'ala at the same time He is removing this concept of righteousness that they had, which was based on superstition and following their forefathers without any revelation. So Allah Ta'ala is telling them now, many things you think they are they are good or bad, but there's no sanction. So if we take today's example, some people think that if you open up an umbrella inside, this is bad luck. Yeah, you may have come across somebody like that. Or if you walk under a ladder, it's bad luck. Yeah? This is common in this country, this concept. And if a black cat passes you at night, then you have to take, I don't know how many steps back or something. Yeah? Superstitious. So they had this superstition that when they used to leave their homes after wearing the ihram, yes, they would do Hajj and Umrah, yeah? After they wear ihram, the mushrikeen, when they come back, if they had to come back for some need before they have finished their Hajj or Umrah, they thought that it was not right to come back from the front door. There's no reason, just, yeah? And so they would come back from the back door, okay? So Allah Ta'ala is saying, no, your mentality is absolutely incorrect, because you have based righteousness, on what you think is right or wrong. Just like what today's secular mind is telling you what is right and wrong. Yes, you just think and make it up, yeah? They're the same jahil people as then. So Allah Ta'ala is saying, it is not righteousness that you come from the back doors. But what is righteousness? It is the person who has taqwa. And taqwa means that you will al-amalu bit-tanzil. Al-amalu bit-tanzil, you will act upon guidance from Allah. You won't make up these rules. Wa'atul buyuta min abwabiha, you should enter the doors from their houses, from their front doors, the place which is there. The other thing is that do what is normal. Why are you making abnormality for yourself in the deen? Yeah, some religious-minded people, they think to make life difficult is righteousness. No, this is not right. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, and have taqwa of Allah so you may attain the success in this life, and more importantly, success in the hereafter. And then the discussion continues and is now elaborated regarding the ahilla, the months, that what was the real connection here, because the Sahaba, you see, you understand this. If you read this surah properly, you will realize there's a build-up here. Build up. Building up from your iman, your Islam, your vision, your infaq, and qital, and jihad, and badr. Build up. Yes? And then after that, Uhud, and then Khandaq, and then you find Hudaybiyah. So they want to know, what will we do in these circumstances? Allah Ta'ala is saying, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتَلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. So you will fight and you will kill, meaning you will engage in armed combat as an army with their army, but you will do this for Allah's cause, not for your own cause, not for you. For Allah to establish justice. يُقَاتَلُونَكُمْ, the people who come to kill you and kill you, you will kill them. Yes? But وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا, you will not go over the limits. You will be just. You will fight those who fight you. You won't fight those who don't fight you. You will kill the people who come to kill you. When you enter Makkah, you will not kill the innocent old people, as the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba, don't kill. And generally in jihad and qital, do not kill the women, do not the children, or the disabled, or the monks in their monasteries and in their places of worship. Do not touch them, do not kill them, no. You fight the soldiers who come to fight, fair and square. So, وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا, don't transgress, yeah? Don't go beyond the limits. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ, Allah does not love you to transgress the limits. You fight justly. You don't do any injustice. وَاقْتُلُوهُمْ, and once they fight you, once they come to fight you and you are fighting them in the battlefield or other places where they will come to fight you, وَاقْتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ ثَقِفْتُمُوهُمْ وَأَخْرِجُوهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ أَخْرَجُوكُمْ. Once the war is declared, you will fight them wherever you find them. But this is once the war is declared. Yeah? And you will expel them from where they expelled you, meaning Makkah. They expelled you بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ, without any reason. but you will expel them بالحق وبالحق أنزلناه وبالحق نزل and وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل. Truth will come, the falsehood will leave. Truth of Tawheed will come, the falsehood of Shirk has to leave. You will expel them from there, meaning they cannot now live in Mecca or even the Arabian Peninsula, because they are the specific audience of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. They cannot remain on Shirk while the Prophet is there with them. Yes, they have to either submit or they have to be expelled. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. And although you know that qatl is a major sin and you don't like it, you don't like to kill, of course, this is human, you don't want to kill anybody. But when the killing is forced upon the person, then the person has to retaliate with equal force to crush the oppression. Yeah? To stop oppression from spreading. Otherwise, you will allow this oppression and the oppressor to become even more bold and stronger. You can't do that. Yes? To protect the innocent people, you have to stand up to the oppression and the oppressor. And al-fitna is this oppression that these oppressors, they have done against the believers in Mecca. They have oppressed the people's right to believe and worship Allah, who has the only right to be worshipped. And they have oppressed them to the extent that they had to do hijrah to Habasha first. And then they were boycotted for 3 years in the Shaib, the valley of Abi Talib. And then now, to the extent they have all had to do hijrah to Medina. So this is fitna. Is it clear? Fitna? Fitna is to put the true believers under a test where it becomes difficult for them to worship Allah, as if they are being put through the fire. Fitna means to put in the fire. So Allah Ta'ala has taught us the dua, وَلَا تَجْعَلْنَا fitna. وَلَا تَجْعَلْنَا فِتْنَةً لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Yeah. So, oh Allah, do not make us a trial for the zalimeen, meaning don't make us the recipients of that test and trial to test us whether we will still worship you or not, to make it that difficult. So Allah Ta'ala saying, remove that oppression so people can freely believe and practice. Because this is greater than qatl. Qatl is a major sin, but fitna, the oppression of people and their right to worship Allah alone is a greater sin. And then regarding Masjid al-Haram, which was one of their main concerns, if we go to Umrah and they fight us in Masjid al-Haram, what will we do? Because this is Hurum. This is the Haram, Masjid al-Haram, sacred, sanctified masjid, where even in the time of them, the Jahiliyyah time even, a person would not, even if the person saw a criminal who killed their father even, would not raise his sword against him in the Haram. Yes? Is it clear, yeah? So the Sahaba asking, what will we do if they fight us? If we go to Umrah and they fight us, what will we do? Do we just take it and die? So Allah Ta'ala is telling us, وَلَا تُقَاتِلُوهُمْ إِنَّ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. Do not fight them when you are in the Masjid al-Haram, حَتَّى, unless and until يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ فِيهِ, unless until they start the fight against you. If they fight against you, then you will fight against them. You won't just sit there and take it, no. You will fight oppression. Because if you don't fight the oppression, you will allow the oppression to spread. You stand up and you stop the oppression. فَإِنْ قَاتَلُوكُمْ. So if they fight you, فَقْتُلُوهُمْ. Fight them, kill them. If they want to kill you, you kill them. كَذَلِكَ جَزَاءُ الْكَافِرِينَ. And this is what the kafirin, these disbelievers who are hell-bent on breaking the covenant with you in the first place of Hudaybiyah, because they broke the covenant, yes, Hudaybiyah covenant, by attacking the believers first. And then they do not fulfill their covenants. They are not righteous in their agreements. They do ithm and udwan and every type of sin. And the greatest is that they are disbelievers in Allah and His Messenger. So therefore, this is what they will deserve. If they fight you, then you fight them back and give them what is right. But فَإِنِ انْتَهَوْا, but if they stop, yeah, if they don't fight you, so one tafsir is if they stop fighting, the other is if they become believers. Yes, they become believers. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, then Allah, He will be forgiving and merciful. So if they believe, then this would remove their sin of disbelief. So Allah is giving them a chance. And then Allah Ta'ala is telling us, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ. The objective of jihad is been given here. The objective, why there is jihad and qital. Okay, one is to remove oppression, fitna. Second here, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ fitna. So fight them and kill them, the enemies, until there is no more oppression, fitna. وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ لِلَّهِ. And the highest objective is, once there is no fitna, there's no oppression, then people will be able to obey and live according to the deen of Allah. They will be free to worship Allah in every aspect of their lives without any barrier. So anybody who is stopping a believer from practicing their deen, the A to Z, this person or this group of people, they are the people of fitna and fasad fil ard. And they will say in the most beautiful manner, Zukhruful Qawl, that we are here to protect you and give you your human rights. Yes? So you and I have to be very sensible and very clever about this, understand this. So the deen is for Allah, and the Prophet ﷺ told us in the hadith, famous hadith, about the people, the mujahid who becomes shaheed. And the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the person who goes to fight for his to take revenge, or the one who takes to show fights to show his bravery, or there's one other reason I forgot, remember. And the Prophet ﷺ said, none of them are fi sabilillah. The only fight fi sabilillah is liyakun likalimatillahi al-uliya, to make Allah Ta'ala's word the highest. Again, Allah Ta'ala is saying, فَإِنِ انْتَهَوْا. فَإِنِ انْتَهَوْا, if they stop the fitna, فَلَا عُدْوَانَ إِلَّا عَلَى الظَّالِمِينَ, then there is no aggression, meaning you will not fight them, yes, but the people who are still oppressive. Yes. Allah Ta'ala is always giving them a way out. If you don't do what you're doing and you do tawbah, then you are فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ. Allah mentions in Surah Tawbah. They will become your brothers in deen. And the last ayah, الشهر الحرام بالشهر الحرام والحرمات قصاص. So fighting in the sacred month is for aggression committed in the sacred month, meaning these people were saying that, oh, these people, they don't respect the sacred months, they will fight in them. Allah Ta'ala is saying, no, if you fight in the sacred months, then you will be fought in the sacred months. Yes? Okay? And because you will violate it, there is a qisas, there is a price to pay, which is that you'll be fought. فَمَنِ اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ فَاعْتَدُوا عَلَيْهِ بِمِثْلِ مَا اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ. If somebody transgresses against you, then you have the right to transgress against that person to the same extent, not more. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, but always have that fear of Allah in you. Always fear Allah, that you will not transgress the limits, you will not be unjust. وَاعْلَمُوا, and you should know, أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ, that if you have taqwa, and this links to Sawm, because Sawm provides taqwa, yes? If you have taqwa, you have muttaqeen. You see the taqwa, yeah? Links to Sawm, fasting. Fasting, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So this was all training. You remember taqwa, you remember Siyam. Siyam was the training of the battle horses to remain hungry and thirsty and to be able to face the hot climate of the desert in battle. This is what fasting is. Fasting is teaching us how to remain loyal to Allah in difficulty. Test of money, test of fighting, test of fighting against oppression, standing up against oppression, and at the same time being just. Very tight rope. Yeah, very difficult. So وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. You should be aware and you should rest assured that if you have taqwa, you always think what Allah wants, and Allah, He will be with you, He will help you, He will guide you, and He will save you from doing anything which is wrong. So with that, we finish today's lesson. Then you will see next time infaq, and then Hajj mentioned, and then Hajj, and then you will see Fasad fil Ard, and then you will see Yani Islam, the word Islam